Flappy the chef loved his little shop. It was called Flappy's Famous Pancakes. The sign outside was bright yellow, just like a happy sun. Inside, everything smelled sweet, like warm berries and melted butter. Flappy wore a tall white chef's hat that wobbled when he walked. He hummed a happy tune as he flipped his first pancake of the day. It flew high in the air, did a perfect flip, and landed softly back in the pan. Flappy giggled. He loved making breakfast. It was his favorite thing to do in the whole wide world, and his restaurant was the best place to be. The bell on the door jingled a cheerful sound. The first customer arrived, smiling at the wonderful smell. "1 stack of blueberry pancakes, please," she said. Flappy beamed, his cheeks turning as rosy as the jam on his counter. He scooped the batter onto the hot grill, creating a perfect circle. He sprinkled in the plump, juicy blueberries with a flourish. The pancakes sizzled and puffed up, turning a lovely golden brown. He slid them onto a bright blue plate and added a big pat of butter that melted right away. This was going to be a fantastic day. Soon, more people came in. The little bell jingled and jangled, playing a busy song. A family with 2 small children found a cozy booth by the window. A man with a big bushy beard sat at the counter. Flappy's heart felt as full and warm as one of his pancakes. He was so happy that he started to dance a little jig behind the counter. His feet tapped and shuffled on the floor. He spun around with a spatula in his hand, pretending it was a magic wand. He was a pancake wizard, making breakfast magic for everyone. His happiness bubbled over like syrup from a jug. As he danced past his little lunchbox on the floor, his foot swung out a bit too far. He nearly kicked it over. "Whoopsie daisy!" he giggled to himself, catching his balance just in time. The customers chuckled. They loved coming to Flappy's, not just for the delicious food, but for the cheerful chef who made every morning feel like a party. Flappy took a little bow, his wobbly hat dipping down and then popping back up. He felt like the luckiest chef in the whole town. The door's bell didn't just jingle anymore. It seemed to be ringing all the time. More and more people squeezed into the little restaurant. The room was filled with happy chatter and the clinking of forks. Every table was full, and a line began to form at the door. Flappy's smile grew wider and wider, stretching from ear to ear. "More friends for pancakes!" he exclaimed with a joyful shout. He felt a fizz of excitement in his tummy, a wonderful, bubbly feeling that made him want to flip 10 pancakes at once. He was the king of pancakes, and this was his kingdom. He started working faster and faster, a happy blur of motion. He cracked eggs with one hand and whisked batter with the other. He poured perfect circles of batter onto the grill without even looking. He was so excited that he started making silly faces at the children watching him from the counter. He crossed his eyes and puffed out his cheeks, making them burst into fits of giggles. He felt so full of joy that he thought he might float right up to the ceiling like a happy balloon. The whole restaurant was filled with his sunny energy. The orders kept coming. Strawberry pancakes here, chocolate chip over there, a giant stack for table 3. Flappy's happiness turned into a whirlwind of activity. He zoomed from the fridge to the grill, his feet barely touching the floor. He grabbed a big jug of syrup, but he was moving so fast that he almost dropped it. He juggled it in the air for a moment, catching it with a triumphant, "Ta-da!" The customers clapped and cheered. Flappy felt like a performer on a grand stage, and the sizzling pancakes were his co-stars in the wonderful show. His excitement was getting a little bit messy. A little drop of batter landed on his nose. A dusting of flour settled on his eyebrows, making him look like a funny snowman. He didn't even notice. He was too busy being the happiest pancake chef in the history of breakfast. He grabbed a stack of plates, but he picked up too many. They wobbled in his arms like a leaning tower. He carefully set them down just before they could topple over, breathing a sigh of relief. This was the busiest, best, and most wonderfully chaotic morning ever. The happy, bubbly feeling inside Flappy started to change. It wasn't fizzy and light anymore. It felt more like a pot of water boiling over. The endless jingle of the bell now sounded like a loud alarm. The happy chatter of the customers became a roaring noise in his ears. He looked at all the faces waiting for their food, and his wide smile started to feel a little stiff. His hands, which had been so quick and sure, began to feel clumsy. He was still trying to be happy, but a little seed of stress had been planted. Things began to go wrong. He reached for the big syrup dispenser to fill a small jug. But in his rush, he pushed the lever too hard. A thick, sticky stream of maple syrup shot out like a geyser. It flew right over the jug and splattered all over the wall behind the counter. "Oh dear!" Flappy cried, his eyes wide. A long, slow drip of syrup began to slide down the wall. It looked like the kitchen was crying sticky, sweet tears. Flappy felt his cheeks get hot, and it wasn't from the heat of the grill. Next came the noise. Flappy grabbed a handful of silverware to set a table, but his stressed fingers fumbled. The forks, knives, and spoons clattered loudly onto a stack of metal plates, making a sound like a dozen cymbals crashing at once. Everyone in the restaurant jumped. Flappy winced, his shoulders hunching up to his ears. The happy music of the busy restaurant had turned into a loud, clanging mess. His heart was beating as fast as a drum, thump, thump, thump against his ribs. The fun was definitely over now. Then came the fire. Trying to cook even faster, Flappy turned the flame on the grill up, up, up. It roared to life, much higher than it was supposed to. As he leaned over to flip a pancake, the tall flame leaped up and licked the very tip of his wobbly chef's hat. A tiny puff of smoke appeared, followed by a small, bright orange flame. His hat was on fire. Flappy didn't notice at first until he smelled something like burnt marshmallows. He looked up, saw the smoke, and let out a surprised yelp, waving his hands in a panic. In his panic about his burning hat, Flappy waved his arms wildly. He stumbled backward away from the grill. His flailing hand accidentally slammed against the big red fire alarm button on the wall. A loud, piercing beep, beep, beep filled the entire restaurant. Flappy was so startled by the noise he had made that he forgot all about the tiny fire on his head. He just stood there, frozen, with a look of pure shock on his face. Then the absurdity of it all hit him. His hat was on fire, syrup was on the wall, and now an alarm was screaming. He started to laugh, a silly, helpless giggle. Just then, the front door swung open, and a calm man named Stanley walked in. Stanley was a firefighter who lived next door. He saw the smoke, heard the alarm, and came to check. He took one look at the scene, the syrup on the wall, the messy counter, and Flappy giggling with a smoldering hat. He calmly walked over, took the hat off Flappy's head, and dropped it into the sink with a sizzle. "Everything is fine, everyone," Stanley announced in a loud, steady voice. "Just a little breakfast excitement." He smiled, gave a friendly wave, and walked back out the door. The alarm stopped, and a quiet fell over the restaurant. The customers, seeing that everything was okay, started to chuckle. The pancake chaos was over. Flappy, feeling very tired, cleaned up the mess. That night, he decided he was done with pancakes for the day. He wanted to cook something different, something slow and relaxing. He decided to have a barbecue just for himself. He seasoned a piece of chicken and put it on a small grill outside. The smoky smell filled the evening air, much calmer than the smell of a burning hat. After his barbecue dinner, Flappy went back into his little office behind the kitchen. He sank into his comfy chair, planning to rest for just a minute. The morning had been a whirlwind of happiness, stress, fire, and syrup. The long day had completely worn him out. His eyes felt very heavy. Before he even knew it, Flappy the pancake chef, the hero of the breakfast chaos, had drifted off to sleep. He snored softly, dreaming of quiet evenings and perfectly cooked barbecue, with not a single pancake in sight.